and you can do so... Ah! Hey, it's Annika here with Sniffdog. Have you been hearing about a ThunderShirt and have no idea what people are talking about? Or do you have an anxious dog and you're wondering, how does a ThunderShirt work? I'm here today to help.
At Sniffdog, we're here to teach you how to speak dog. If you can have a better understanding of your dog, you can have a relationship built off trust and fun. We want to come on this wonderful journey of pet ownership with you to help empower the love and connection between you and your pup.
Now, real quick, before we get started with today's video, I want to give a loving shout out to our featured pet, Dilbert Pickles. Thank you so much for your continued Sniffdog support. If you want to be a featured pet on our YouTube videos, please make sure that you leave some comments about what you want to learn more about. Also, don't forget to download the training tip sheet, and I'm telling you today, the bloopers at the end of this video are worth it because I have done this take like 15 times already. All right, chances are if you're watching this video, you're a little confused about what exactly a ThunderShirt is, how it works, and if it's a good option for you to use with your dog. A ThunderShirt is basically a vest that is used for dogs that are reactive, easily overstimulated, anxious, nervous, or having really anxious reactions to something in their environment that is difficult for them to be around or be exposed to. So examples would be thunderstorms, a really loud building under construction, fireworks, or a dog that's reactive to dogs or people outside on walks might find them really beneficial. And so we're gonna go through today how to use it, how it works, how to make sure you recognize when your dog is anxious, and exactly how to make sure that the ThunderShirt is working for you instead of sometimes using it wrong can actually make it not work at all. So we're gonna get started by explaining all of those things with our 3 training tips. What you'll need for today's video is a ThunderShirt. All right, tip number 1 is to recognize when your dog is anxious. Now, how do you even know that you need a ThunderShirt if you can't recognize anxious behavior? Like I said a little earlier, anxiety can be stimulated or onset by a number of things. Often it's loud noises, novel stimulus, or things that are triggering your dog to go into a panic. Vacuums, garbage trucks can cause them to have little mini panics in your house. It can also happen outside of your home. And so having a ThunderShirt that you can bring with you wherever you go, if you do happen to have an anxious dog, is absolutely in your best interest. Signs that your dog is anxious include trembling, drooling, vocalization like whining, barking, chronic pacing back and forth, pawing at doorways over and over, trying to exit your home, trying to exit wherever they are. If they happen to be walking on the leash, you might get panic jumping up at you, panic jumping up at fences if they're in an enclosed space. You'll see dilated pupils. You might see a lot of closed mouth with tongue flicking out. Overall, their demeanor might look a bit frantic, erratic, and overly worried about something. If you're really connected with your dog, you'll be able to see it in their eyes. Oftentimes, they're constantly checking in on you.
Hello, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me?
And so if you see any of these anxious behaviors, it might be in your best interest to pull out the ThunderShirt. Okay, so how the hell does this thing work? Well, it's believed that when you put a ThunderShirt on an anxious dog, it helps them focus on the feeling on their body instead of the thing in the environment that's causing them to be so stressed out in the first place. When I'm working one-on-one with clients, I usually explain it like, you know when you put tight pants on and all you can think about for 5 minutes is, damn it, these pants are so tight. I can't think about anything else. It's sort of how a ThunderShirt works, I imagine, where you're focused on one thing and so you're not thinking about the other things. The other thing that it does is it actually oftentimes regulates their nervous system by giving them body focus, and it feels like a hug. So it's similar to a compression vest, compression weighted blanket that people use, and all of these things are to ground you and bring you back into your body instead of being so focused on the environment. Now, while there's little data, scientific evidence out there that these ThunderShirts or anxiety vests actually so-called work, there is enough anecdotal evidence to support that pet owners report their dogs are much calmer, immediately responding to the ThunderShirt as it goes on them and decreasing their stress about whatever was around them causing the anxiety in the first place. I always tell people too, it's just worth a shot. It's between $40 and $60 usually, depending on where you get it and the size you purchase. And if it doesn't work, you can usually return it. I also want to note that it's important you don't misinterpret your dog's body language and behavior. If they're really anxious and you put the ThunderShirt on them and they stop all of the anxiety altogether. It does not mean they don't care about the thing that scared them in the first place. Please don't mistake that. They're very likely to be afraid still of the thing in the environment that's caused the anxiety in the first place, but the anxiety vest is subsiding it or subduing the symptoms of it, the body language that expresses that they're really anxious. So even though you put the ThunderShirt on them and maybe they're like immediately,
Oh my God, it's so much better.
and they're more comfortable, it doesn't mean we keep them in situations that we know are causing them distress. ThunderShirts are best suited for when you're stuck inside. You've got nowhere to go. The construction happening outside of your home is triggering it. In those cases, it's really important that you soothe your dog. You get low on the ground with them, you put the ThunderShirt on them, you console them, you hug them, you pet them, you don't leave them alone, because the ThunderShirt itself isn't going to actually fix the problem. It's just going to minimize the signs and symptoms of that anxiety. Another thing you can do if your dog is having an anxious panic attack of sorts is you can play soft, calming music to try to drown out the noises that are potentially triggering their anxiety. Now, if you're outside, the ThunderShirt can be a little bit tougher to put on in a hurry, but if you do have a dog that struggles with ferry or boat rides, airplane travel, just walking in new environments, you can absolutely use it in those outside environments and have it on hand at any given time if you need it. All right, let's get to tip number 2, how to size and put on a ThunderShirt. So in order for a ThunderShirt to work on your dog, it has to be quite tight. If it's too loose, then they don't feel it as much, and the hug that they're supposedly feeling when it's on them isn't such a hug. So always when you're sizing it, go on the smaller size if you're stuck between two sizes rather than the bigger size. Also, when you put it on them, it can be really loud and Velcro-y. So for dogs that have anxiety issues with sounds and noise phobias, the ThunderShirt can be a lot. If you want to avoid any sound phobias from developing, if they are needing an anxiety vest, I would recommend just a dog jacket with a zipper or something quite tight instead of a ThunderShirt. So we want it tight. You want about 2 fingers to squeeze under the fabric once it's on them. You also want to make sure that you got the right product. Some are great for outdoors, some are great for sports, some are weather dependent, and some are more of the cozy cotton inside ones. Choose the one that's right for you and where you think you will be using it when your dog might be exposed to something overstimulating or a little bit anxiety inducing for them. You also want to make sure to distract them when you're putting it on them. So it can be actually quite stressful to get the ThunderShirt put on when you're already stressed out. So I recommend people give them a peanut butter Kong to lick at while you put the vest on them, a bully stick, handfuls of cheese or chicken breast. Sometimes you've got to give them something very high value to distract them under their nose on the ground while you put it on them. It's not easy to put on, and we'll get there in a second. So you might need something to distract your dog for just a couple of minutes while you put it on. Now note, if your dog is quite anxious and they really actually need the ThunderShirt, they're probably so stressed out that they won't eat. And that's normal, but it doesn't mean that you don't try. The last thing I'll say about putting it on is you're welcome to put a ThunderShirt on and then a vest on top or a jacket on top. It doesn't need to be the only thing that they're wearing. So if you want to take them out on a walk with it on, you can put other equipment on top of your tight-fitting ThunderShirt. Here is a demonstration of me putting it on Cedar. It is not an easy thing to do, so make sure that you play with it and put it on your dog a few times over when they're not anxious in order to get down pat where the hell the head hole is and how to wrap it around them. Okay, let's get to tip number 3, how to use it and when to use it. When you hold it up, it sort of just looks like a bunch of fabric. There are 2 skinny little sections of it, the only 2 skinny pieces. Those are the ones that go in front of your dog's chest. And when you close it, it would become a head hole. So I recommend finding the 2 skinny pieces, putting them into a circle, and using this as the head hole to put your dog's head through. The rest of the big fabric will go over their back, and let's pretend this is the head, this is their back, the rest will go under the belly. The ThunderShirt is best put on in intervals. So if you put it on them when they're having an anxious fit or an anxiety little panic attack in your house, or when they're overstimulated outside on a walk, it's best used on short intervals. So that might mean 2 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 5 minutes on, 10 minutes off. It's really dog dependent and circumstance dependent, but it's very important you know the longer it stays on them, the more they acclimatize to the feeling and the less effective that hug actually is. So when you put tight pants on, within a half an hour, you forget that they're tight. You get used to how uncomfortable you are. We don't want your dogs experiencing that with a ThunderShirt, or else it won't work. The other thing is that if you see that they get stuck, like they can't really move and they're in the ThunderShirt and they don't want to walk, your dog is really sensitive to that hug. So you've got to make sure to keep it on them for really short periods if they're having a strong reaction to it. It is okay if they look like they can't move or they look sad. I hear that a lot. But if they do look really stuck or sad in it, again, take it off so it's not on them too long. And you want to see shake-offs. Shake-offs are like a full body shaking off as if they were wet. That's really great to see when you take off the ThunderShirt. It means they're de-stressing. They're actively letting stress go from their body. That's sort of the whole point. We want to see that the ThunderShirt induces stress relief behaviors such as shaking off, scratching their collar, sniffing the ground, yawning, stretching, overall just trying to relieve all of that stress hormone from their body. There's not really a bad time to use a ThunderShirt as long as you're using it for short intervals and you're making sure that you're not just expecting your dog to cope with whatever stressors are around them just because you put a ThunderShirt on them. Another couple of good examples of times it might be beneficial for your dog to wear one would be when they're visiting the vet. If you have a dog that's stressed out with guests coming over, you could use it when guests come in the home, or if they struggle with being left alone for short periods, you could also do that as long as you don't have a chewer on your hands. There's many things to avoid with a ThunderShirt, but general things to avoid would be don't leave it on them too long. It's going to stop working. Also, try not to leave it on them unsupervised for long periods of time, and make sure that it's not fit too big and too loose. All right, folks, that's it. That's all I've got for you. I hope you learned something about the ThunderShirt. I hope it helps your anxious dogs feel a little bit better when they're in situations they're not entirely comfortable with. Before wrapping up, the last thing I'll say about a ThunderShirt is it should not replace training. You can actively desensitize and counter condition your dogs to the things that they're stressed out about most of the time. So if you want help, make sure you're working with a force-free, positive reinforcement, certified dog trainer to help your dog feel less anxious in the situations in which you're feeling like you want to use a ThunderShirt. Thank you again for watching. Please make sure that you give us a follow on Instagram, you like us on Facebook, comment and share with your friends the content that we are providing you. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the notify button to find out when our videos come out, which is every Thursday, and stay tuned for the bloopers. They're gonna be good today, and download the training tip sheet. I made it for you. Take care. And if you want to be a featured pet on our want to learn more about I can't. What do I do with my hands? Oh, why don't we record these on Fridays?